since we've been on STN, Student Television Network.
Let's kick off the show with the music video.
Halloween, 7 more days till I leave this place. Curious, empty cereal boxes are littered around the room. It's invoking a strange reaction soon. Sleeping in having a president, it just makes sense not to be so sensitive when all I do is fool around with you. That's okay, I'll be on soon.
Whether you live in Seattle or you're just visiting, a 20th century gem sits in the heart of the University of Washington. Just 19 miles away from the SeaTac Airport, the Suzzallo Library is in its element, surrounded by the commotion of the 21st century. A popular tour attraction and a useful tool for students attending the university, this timely structure should end up on anybody's to-do list. The focal point of the school, the library looks over the Red Square. Designed by Carl F. Gould, the mature collegiate Gothic style is awe-inspiring. After a quick look around, Head of Operations of Research, Adam Hall, agreed to be interviewed.
My name is Adam Hall, and I am Head of Operations for Research Services here at the University of Washington Libraries. So this library was built, there's quite a story behind how the library came to be built. The president of the university in the early 1920s was Henry Suzzallo, and he is quoted as saying that this is the university of 1,000 years. So clearly he had a lot of ambition for this university. He also was quoted as saying that the soul of any university is its library. And in the early 1920s, this university had no library. All the different departments had their own small libraries, small reading rooms, but there was no one big library.
The first phase of renovation in 2000 was purely to fix safety and architectural integrity. Retrofits were done to protect against earthquakes, but because of the significant role Suzzallo plays in the university's research, the library had to stay in operation throughout the duration of the renovation.
In the late 1990s, the state of Washington acquired some funding to do a study of the oldest public buildings in this state to determine which ones were considered to be unsafe in an earthquake. And the one building that rose to the top of the list was this library. And it was not because it was badly built, because for the time that it was built, it was very well built. But there are different parts to this building. There's the 1925 wing, which is where the great reading room is that we'll probably talk about at some point. And we're right now sitting in the 1935 wing that was built during the Great Depression using WPA money.
Almost a decade ago, this library was only known by locals and historians, but when a rumor arose that it was an inspiration for a popular Harry Potter set, it wasn't long until busloads of people from all over the world were coming to take a look. Here's what Hall has to say about it.
And the idea, as I mentioned earlier in the story, was to build a building here that looked like Oxford or Cambridge, because at the time there were no buildings that looked anything like this in the United States. So it was considered to be a major accomplishment to have this building here in the United States, especially in the Pacific Northwest. So it's that Gothic piece that has made some people refer to the reading room as being the Harry Potter reading room, because for that reason it looks just a little bit like Hogwarts. However, this library and this building has absolutely nothing to do with the filming of the Harry Potter movie. What happened was that about 10 years ago, I was preparing to give a tour to an elementary school group. And the teacher met me in the Suzzalo lobby, and I could see the young students standing out on the stairs, and clearly they looked like they had way too much sugar. They were literally just bouncing up and down, and the teacher was apologizing for how out of control they were. She said, but they can't help it because they can hardly wait to see the Harry Potter reading room. Well, that was the first I'd ever heard of it. And then about 2 years later, it hit social media. And next thing we know, we have busloads of people coming from Korea, from China, and Japan to come here to see the Harry Potter reading room. First of all, you kind of hit the nail on the head, and the fact is that this library is packed all the time. So there's hardly a time, and right now you're here during the spring break, and you saw how busy it is now, and that's with mostly tourists, and because we have this wonderful grove of flowering cherry trees that are in flower right now too, which also draws a lot of people. So we have this double whammy of tourists coming in now. But when school's in session here, you can walk through this building at the peak of a day on a school day and not find an empty seat. And there are probably about 600 study seats in this building. The reading room itself will seat 300 people, and you can easily have 150 to 200 people sitting in there at any given time studying. So that's the way in which I think it's successful. It continues to be a place, a physical place, where college students, University of Washington students can go to be. What we've tried to do in terms of what changes and upgrades we've done is to create different kinds of spaces in the building. So if you really want an utterly silent study space, then the reading room is your spot. It's the only silent study area in the building. But if you want a place that is moderately busy, there's a little bit of foot traffic going through, people are able to talk and converse with each other, then we have other places in the library that are like that. And in the new edition, which was built in 1991, the Allen Library, the upper floors, which have lots of study tables and study carrels, those tend to be relatively quiet as well. And one of the newest additions is the Research Commons on the ground floor in the Allen Library South Wing, which is meant to be noisy. It's a collaborative space where students can go and they can plug in their laptops and work on group projects, and we have events in there, so it's a place that is actually quite the opposite of the reading room.
Almost a decade ago, this library was only known by locals and historians, but when a rumor arose that it was an inspiration for a popular Harry Potter set, it wasn't long until busloads of people from all over the world were coming to take a look. Here's what Hall has to say about it.
So it's that Gothic piece that has made some people refer to the reading room as being the Harry Potter reading room, because for that reason it looks just a little bit like Hogwarts. However, this library and this building has absolutely nothing to do with the filming of the Harry Potter movie. What happened was that about 10 years ago, I was preparing to give a tour to an elementary school group. And the teacher met me in the Suzzalo lobby, and I could see the young students standing out on the stairs, and clearly they looked like they had way too much sugar. They were literally just bouncing up and down, and the teacher was apologizing for how out of control they were. She said, but they can't help it because they can hardly wait to see the Harry Potter reading room. Well, that was the first I'd ever heard of it. And then about 2 years later, it hit social media. And next thing we know, we have busloads of people coming from Korea, from China, and Japan to come here to see the Harry Potter reading room. And we have not yet heard from J.K. Rowling, so as far as I'm concerned, she must be okay with it. We don't officially call it, actually.
While nearly a century old, the Suzzalo Library is still finding its way into the routine of students and serving as a popular tour attraction. Renovations and retrofits have not diminished its glory, and it looks right at home. The Tuzalo Library sits in its element, thriving in the modern society built around it.
We hope you're enjoying the show, Vipers. STN is an international competition where we had limited time to complete an entry in the category we competed in.
Verada competed in commercial, music video, short film, PSA, podcast, live action editing, news anchoring, and crazy eights.
We are very proud of all of our entries and it was a great experience.
In other news, we are on our home stretch till the end of the year.
Prom is already next week. Make sure you buy your tickets by Thursday in the bookstore.
Show your school spirit by participating in the Prom Spirit Week. Monday is athletic day, so wear your athletic gear.
This Saturday morning, the girls' tennis team is having a car wash fundraiser in the parking lot from 7:30 a.m. and onward.
The marching band is hosting a car show in the west parking lot from 10 a.m. to 2. Make sure you participate and support our Viper Vanguard.
Hello Vipers, my name is Michael Chestnut and this is your weekly weather forecast. Back in Arizona, the highs are going to be in the 80s and the lows will be in the 50s. It's going to be sunny with a few cloudy days the whole week. My name is Michael Chestnut and this is your weekly weather forecast.
My experience at STN was definitely probably my best within the past 2 years that I've gone, so this is my third year, and it is definitely the best year because I knew what to expect, I was prepared, and I was ready to work, and we really had a great group of kids that went with us this year, so it really just made the overall experience so much better.
My experience at STN was super neat. There was just this one day while we were there that I looked around and I took a moment to realize like there's hundreds of other kids there that were like-minded as me, doing exactly the same, like the same exact things that I do, that like to experience the same things that I do, that love video and photography and all that stuff as much as I do. So I learned, and so that was super cool.
My experience at STN was really nice. I got to be able to go on this wonderful trip to Seattle with my fellow classmates, and I just got a really good film experience, so I think that's what I liked about it.
My experience at STN this year was honestly kind of unforgettable. I learned new things. The competition this year was really good. I've never been to Seattle, so getting to explore the city was awesome.
So a key factor that I learned and that I hone in on every year is definitely time management, because STN is huge on deadlines. Like, even being a couple seconds late can be the difference between placing and having your school up there on stage and feeling at the top of the world and being disqualified and not even having your entry looked at. So really making sure that you're on time and everything is executed as flawlessly as possible within the short amount of time that you're given is really important.
I learned that there's always going to be someone better than you, no matter how good you think you are, no matter how good your video is. That someone's video or someone is going to be a little bit better than you, a little bit more creative than you. And so you just have to keep growing and keep learning to grow at what you do and what you like to do.
What I learned at STN was, I think, a lot of communication skills and a lot of teamwork. I think that by having this experience, I definitely was able to go out of my comfort zone a little bit and be able to compete in different things with my fellow classmates. Really opened my eye to how different the environment was and everything. So my experience was really nice.
This was my second year and my last year going to STN. It's kind of nostalgic because I'm a senior, so I'll never experience another STN, but I'm super grateful that Verada High School lets us go to compete in this awesome competition, because it's really unforgettable and you learn so much, you meet new people, and you compete at a super high level of kids that are just like you.
We live in a world where everyone is different. People come in a variety of shapes and sizes. Well, so do donuts. Celebrating diversity one donut at a time.
Something about the afterlife makes you think a lot about reality. When you die, you leave behind a lot. Memories fade. They were happy once. Now they just seem dull. You see things a lot different. I guess it's true what they say. You only love it when you let it go. You don't appreciate anything until it's gone. I see the city differently too. It feels different now. Unlike me, the city is alive. It's constantly moving. So why does it feel so dead?
It's not your fault. Lauren is just depressed.
I miss the ocean. I miss the light. It's true that it's just blackness forever after you die. I was always afraid of that. I did this to myself, didn't I? I just feel like I'm the dead one.
When the city of Seattle first comes to mind, everyone thinks of busy streets, lots of people, and a fast life. But often, people seem to overlook the slower and more quiet parts of Seattle. Tucked in the corner of Discovery Park, you can find Daybreak Star Indian Cultural Center. Program manager Deo Escobar finds himself in his element as he works to promote the wellness of others by giving back as he simultaneously preserves his culture.
Well, I've worked for United Indians just over 2 years. And before that, I worked in a homeless shelter for natives downtown Seattle. The Daybreak Star Indian Cultural Center was built in 1978, I believe. But in 1970, local native people had decided to sort of take over this space. This all used to be part of Fort Lawton. Fort Lawton was a military base from like the days of World War I and II. After it had been shut down, it technically became surplus. Bernie White Bear was the founder of United Indians, and he had actually gone through and found that wording in the treaties that basically said that we have a right to this land. And so they petitioned the city and the army to get this land. and they said that we needed it for cultural services. We needed a cultural center, you know, and so there was an occupation. Native people climbed the fence, and they came in and said, we're occupying this land. We're taking it back for our Native community.
Deo has a personal connection to the program, as his experiences and connections have led him to partake in opportunities to make a career out of his passions.
My role actually has just changed. I am the new program manager for the Our Strong Fathers program. It's a fatherhood support program, specifically focused on Native fathers, offering resources and support groups for Native fathers in the community. It's a brand new program we're looking at launching in the summertime. So right now we're just in the planning phase. A lot of the work that I've done here is directly with clients and families that were at risk of eviction. So just having the ability to work with families like that and to help them to keep people from being homeless has really been really a positive impact on me. Working here really has given me an opportunity to give back to the community, the larger Native community, and Seattle, the community of Seattle as a whole. Native people had really put a lot on the line to sacrifice to get this place. You know, after some time, there was an agreement that our organization would get this 20 acres where the center sits now, and from there it's just continued to grow. Our new project, our new program will be about supporting Native fathers, and that's something that is you know, a personal that has a lot of personal relevance to me. You know, I have a son, and you know, he lives with his mom, and we don't have a great connection, and part of this program is going to be helping fathers reestablish those types of relationships with their family, their children. You know, just like a lot of other Native issues, it's not without a fight, you know, for us to try to claim our place and as the original people of this land, you know. So this center, it does signify resistance, that we are still fighting for recognition, and to let people know that we're still here, that we're a proud people, and that we want to take care of our own people. And that's exactly what we've done here and what we're trying to continue to do.
In a place like this, nature is his office, and smiles on people's faces is what keeps Deo going in his day-to-day operations. It is very clear that this is how he finds himself in his element.
We've been doing the double line over here. First jump, second jump, cut over, big hip, rail line, zigzag all the way to the bottom, and it is, look at this, this is today.
What an amazing show. Thank you for watching.
STN was so amazing, and we're so happy to have been a part of it.
I'm Ploma Maroff.
And I'm Erica Gomez, signing off from Seattle.
Adam signing off for KBHS. And Nick signing off for KBHS.